Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Our topic for today is adding and subtracting integers. And the objective for today is I can use several methods for adding and subtracting integers, including a number line, counters, and a set of rules. You probably have learned and tried to memorize this set of rules for adding and subtracting integers, but what's equally important to me for you this year is that you understand where those rules come from. So that's going to be a lot of what today is all about. Go ahead and make sure that you put your heading, page number, and date in your notebook. This should go on the next page in your notebook. And once you've written the heading, the objective, go ahead and draw a line, and we're going to start taking some notes underneath. Make sure you have with you that number line piece of paper from class today. Pause and go get it if you need to. You're going to be using that throughout the lesson today. Okay, on this same page, the first thing we're going to talk about is adding integers with the same sign. Put that little subheading underneath the objective, and then write out this problem here. Actually write all the words. Find -3 plus -2 using a number line. This is when we're going to use the first number line from your paper. You can either cut it out, tape it in, or you can do all the work on it and we can put it in your notebooks tomorrow. So when we are adding two integers with the same sign, we need to keep in mind what direction means on the number line. If I move left on the number line, that is in the negative direction. If I'm moving right on the number line, it's in the positive direction. So here I have two negative numbers, -3 and -2. Those two negative numbers tell me that I'm only going to be moving in the left direction because negative means left. Now this can get a little complicated though if you're dealing with subtraction, because subtracting a negative can kind of make the whole direction thing on the number line go a little crazy. So what I need you to remember to do is anytime you see a subtraction problem, I need you to change the subtraction to addition by using that method that we talked about. We talked about this last week. Leave it, change it, whoopsie, sorry. Leave it, change it, opposite. Okay? We leave the first number the same, change subtraction to addition. This is an addition problem, so we wouldn't do that, but I just want to refresh for you. And then take the opposite of the second number. So these rules for what direction you go on the number line only work if you are dealing with addition. So change subtraction to addition. Now when we actually go to do this problem on a number line, we are always going to start right here at 0. That is the starting place for any problem. Then you're going to go 3 units left. Remember we talked here about how the direction for a negative is to the left. So we are going to take a little arrow and go 3 units to the left, putting us at -3. And then we have another negative number, so that means we're going to go even further left, and we're going to go left 2 to represent -2. That's going to leave us at -5 on the number line, and -5 is indeed our answer for this problem. So make sure that you have done this work on a number line, and I also want you to write these things here. These are important. This should still be on the first page in your notebook. You should have plenty of room for this. Once you get these notes written down and the number line filled out, you can go ahead and move on to the next section of the video, but pause right now if you need to get that information down. Okay, we're going to move on to the next page in your notebook, and you're going to be using 3 different number lines for this page. Use them from the worksheet that I gave you, and I want you to try these 3 problems on your own on those number lines. Use arrows like the ones I have over here to show where you go and which direction and how far, and then you can just put a little circle at whatever number you end up at. I'm going to count down from 10, and then I'm going to show you the correct answers for this. So please make sure you have paused the video so that you're not cheating, and you actually try and work through these problems on your own. All right, here goes. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Make sure you pause. Hopefully for this first problem, you ended up at -6. Your first arrow, this red one right here, represents my -1 in the problem, and since negative moves left on the number line, I go left 1. Then I have -5, which is also negative, so it moves left on the number line. I go 5 more, and I end up at -6. If you got these wrong, please correct them so that you have the right process and the right answers in your notes. Number 2, we start out at 0 as always, and our first number tells us to move 4 in the negative direction, which is left on the number line. And then our second number tells us that we need to go 3 more. So from -4, we go 3 more, and we're going to end up for this one at -7. So our answer to the first problem was -6, and to the second problem was -7. You should be doing these on the number lines on the worksheet that I gave you. Our last problem, number 3 here, is -7 plus -1. Our first arrow is going to start at 0 as always, and then it goes left 7 to represent -7. And then my second arrow is going to be really little. It just represents -1, so it's going left 1 until I hit -8. So my answer to my third problem is -8. What I'd like you to do now is still on this same page. I want you to write this reflection question. What did you notice about the answers to each problem? And then I want you to go through these different example problems that you worked on and find patterns. Notice common things between the different answers, the problems, the answers, as many similarities or patterns that you can notice about those problems. What do you see? Pause the video at this point to write that, and then we will move on when you have a good reflection. We're looking for 2 to 3 sentences here, folks. All right, this page, you don't need to write anything down. We're going to be doing a lot of work with counters in class tomorrow. I just kind of want you to get a feel for it before we actually do it tomorrow. So if we do that same problem from before, -3 plus -2, it was a couple slides back. It was the first example I showed you here. But this time we're going to use little counters for it, and our red counters are going to represent negatives. So first I have -3 counters right here, and the counters are just the little circles, guys. Okay. And then I have 2 more negatives right there. And you can see visually here that, okay, I have 5 negative counters, which is the same answer we came up with when we did it on a number line. 3 negatives plus 2 negatives gives us a total of 5 negatives. Go ahead and go to the next page in your notebook now and go ahead and put the heading adding integers with different signs. Here's where some people get really confused, okay? As long as you remember that left on the number line is negative and right on the number line is positive, you should be okay with this. We're going to start it the same way. You are going to start right here at 0, just like we did every other time. You should be writing, by the way, this right here, the actual problem, find -3 plus 2 using a number line. And you should be using yet another number line from your worksheet that I gave you. And you should also be writing down these notes as we go. We start at 0, and then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move 3 units left to represent this -3 here. All right, well, that's pretty familiar. We've done this before. That's -3. But now it's different. Now we're adding a +2. Remember, positive means right. So I am going to then do, oh, that 2 should actually be +2. Wrong. I am adding 2, and 2 on the number line is in the right direction. So that should go right there. And where do I end up? I end up right here at -1. So I went left for -3, right for +2, and landed at -1. Make sure you have this problem done correctly, both on the number line and these notes written down in your notebook. And if you have glue or tape, go ahead and put that in. Now it's your turn. I have 3 different problems for you. I want you to write these problems in your notebook, still on the same page. And I want you to use a number line, a different number line for each question. and show me those arrows that tell you where you end up. I'm going to pause the video and I want you to take a few minutes to try that on your own. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and start with this first one. We start out at 0, as always start at 0, and then our first number is positive 4. So we are going to go 4 to the right because positive is to the right. Now, my second number is negative 3. Negative goes in the left direction, so then I'm going to take an arrow and go back 1, 2, 3. That is going to land me at positive 1. So positive 1 is my answer to this first problem. If you missed it, I suggest going back and looking at the last screen, the last 5 minutes or so of the video so you can figure it out. All right, number 2, we start out with negative 6. So we're going to need our red arrow going to the left first. Negative is to the left, and I'm going to go 6 right there. And then I have positive 2. So from where that arrow ended, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go right 2, 1, 2. And that is going to leave me at negative 4. Hopefully you got negative 4. If not, go ahead and fix it. And then number 3, I love number 3. Number 3 is pretty cool. It's what we were talking about the other day about additive inverses, and you might have recognized this. If I start out going 4 in the positive direction, boom, and then I go back 4 in the negative direction, because negative is always to the left on the number line, I'm going to end up at 0, proving that additive inverses add up to equal 0. All right, guys, at this time, I'd like you to start a new page, and I have another reflection for you. You're going to, once again, write down what did you notice about the answers to each problem. Look at them really carefully. Look at the positives, look at the negatives, look at the sign of the answers that you end up with, and I want you to come with some kind of conclusion for what you notice. Is there a pattern? Is there a predictable way to see what the sign is going to be? Go ahead and write that 2 to 3 sentences, pause the video, and when you're ready, you can move on, but you better do the reflection before you move on. Promise? Pinky promise? I'm watching you. All right, anyway, moving on. On that page where you did the second reflection, now, oh, wait, I lied. We're not going to write anything else right now. We're going to look at the counters again. I'm sorry. You don't have to write this down. We're just going to look at it. Like I said, we're going to be working with these things tomorrow. I still start out with negative 3. That's 3 negative counters. And then I'm adding positive 2. Now, the really cool thing about positives and negatives, if I have one positive and one negative, they're going to combine and disappear. So they're going to go in the trash can because negative 1 and positive 1 are additive inverses and they combine to equal 0. So I already got rid of one 0 pair. I put them in the trash can. And my other 0 pair, negative and a positive, are going in the trash can as well. So what am I left with? I'm left with negative 1. 0 pairs are one positive and one negative counter. You group the 0 pairs together and then you remove them. You throw them away. And we're going to do a really fun activity with this tomorrow. So we end up with negative 3 plus 2 equals negative 1. All right, now how I was saying on the same page that you did this reflection, now you're going to write down the actual rules for adding and subtracting integers. And people can get really confused by these rules, which is why I like to show you with the number line, with additive inverses, and with counters before I give you these. So take down these notes. We're going to talk about these in a lot more detail tomorrow. But the first rule is that if the numbers have the same signs, you are going to add the absolute values of the numbers and keep the original sign. So if both numbers were negative, they have the same sign, I'm going to add the absolute values of those numbers and then keep the original sign, which was negative. Or if both were positive, they're going to end up being positive. Our second rule is for different signs, and now you're going to subtract the absolute values of the numbers. And a lot of people get confused there. And then you keep the sign of the number with the greater absolute value. We are going to practice and practice and practice and practice until you have this rule perfectly memorized. And I'm going to stop before I hit 15 minutes. Have a good night, and I will see you